Hey guys, and welcome to the Fitpro Social with me, David Kyle.
And me, Ash Burleigh. Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's podcast over at the Fitpro Social. So you may notice slightly different background for Dave if you're actually watching this and not listening to this, which is really apt for what we're going to be talking about today, which is, as a personal trainer, can you actually work and travel at the same time? But more importantly, can you work and travel at the same time and do it effectively? I think that's what we're going to be chatting about today. So first of all, where are you, Dave?
I'm in Turkey, which yesterday and the first 2 days was really cloudy, and then today the clouds have disappeared and it is boiling hot now. So yeah, that's definitely one of the elements. So working away that we'll definitely talk about, I think, today.
Nice. I always find this a really interesting subject because a lot of, especially in the fitness industry, a lot of people like the idea of being able to work and travel and be able to go and see the world, go to these different places, and be able to look after their clients or run their business, maybe remotely, not always remotely. We'll talk about both ways of doing this, but being able to go and do that, and this idea, I think everyone's got this idea of what it's actually like when you work and travel. And for any people that's spoke to me before, spoke to Dave before, you'll know we do tend to work and travel quite a lot. It's a big part of what I do in my business. Like, I love to travel, love to see different places. And I can definitely tell you there's some big pros, but there's also some very big cons as well when it comes to working and traveling. It'd be cool to go through some of those things. But I think since you're actually here, you're there in Turkey now, I should say, you're actually working. And let's just talk a little bit about what that experience has been like just on this trip alone since you've actually been there. So, yeah, let's go through it. What's it been like?
Cool. And then I think we'll go to the first time I went away, because there's loads of things that was in my mind when I first went away all those years ago. But for now, so far, what I've had to do is actually set time aside to be able to actually do this and do our stuff this morning and do all the other stuff. So a lot of people still want to have conversations, book calls and all the other stuff, because I'm classing this as a working holiday. So I think they're the two things that most people need to definitely consider straight away. Is this an actual proper holiday where you turn off completely, you don't respond to anything? Or is it more of a working holiday where maybe on the weekend you have no work and you go and enjoy the scenery, but during the week you are still doing your work? So what we've done this one is kind of half and half. There's certain days that I'm actually going to work, and there's certain days where I'm actually going to, well, I'd like to say not work, but I will.
Yeah. You always live on your phone doing something. It's really interesting. I mean, just before we even jumped on this, and we was chatting about some things we've got coming up for the Fitpro Social, actually towards the end of this year, in around October time, which we'll talk more about in due course. But we're chatting there, and during the month before in September, both me and Dave are away doing different things. And one of the first questions I actually asked you was like, well, your trip you're going on, what kind of holiday is it? Is it a working holiday, or is it an actual holiday? And I think that's such an important distinction to recognize when you're going to travel and work, because, and I think we'll talk about this in a minute. Well, it's like the first time you did it. We'll talk about my first experience of actually traveling and working and what you think it might be like. But you do really have to make a decision of whether, am I going here to work? Am I just going to work like I normally do, but just be in a different environment? Or am I actually going away to take a break from my work? I think the two very important things to talk about. But let's just go right back to when you first went away and decided, I'm going to have a working holiday, if you like, or what was that like?
Yeah, it was a strange one, because like if people, for everyone that's kind of read my stories, you will kind of remember this kind of story there. So finished from university, went to work full time for somebody else, started a football coaching company, started a PT business, and then like 5 years in, I'd never almost basically had a day off, you'd call it. I'd never been away with Holly. We'd never gone anywhere. We'd never done anything, because we just want to work and feel like, if I have time off, am I letting my clients down? If they need something and they reach out, am I going to be able to be available? Am I going to be on the boat trip where I can't respond to them, or am I in a different time zone where it doesn't match? And we talked about this the other week, didn't we? Setting times aside where you work and you don't work, so the clients know your boundaries. Mm-hmm. So it kind of got to a point where we're just like, no, we have to do something. So we booked I think it was like 2 days in Malaga, and we set 4 months. So 4 months ahead, we booked it. I'm like, okay, these are the things that we need to get in place in order to be able to get away. And it was letting the clients know that I'm not going to be available for this time. And that was like my first major one, feeling like I deserve a holiday. I deserve to be able to get away. And it's okay if I tell my clients that I'm not going to be around for a couple of days.
I think that's important. What you mentioned there about getting the 4 months and planning and everything in place to go and do it. I think it's important if you are going to go away, and even if you're going to do just a bit of work remotely, and I do this sometimes when I travel, especially now, I'll have like a full-on working holiday where I'll go away and people won't even know that I'm actually away. Like we did that quite a lot during the past couple of years. Sometimes it was actually quite, even though it was harder to travel, you could get away quite cheaply, and I'd rather have been out the UK than in the UK because of restrictions and stuff. So we went away quite a lot, but a lot of people had no idea it was away because it was just working, so it just changed. And then you have what I call like a working holiday, which is where we're actually on holiday. I'm going to do bits of work whilst I'm there. And normally when I'm doing that, what I'll do is what you've just done there, we'll prepare ready to go away. And we'll say, yeah, I'm probably not going to be available at this time, but I will still put time in to do things. Like now, a bit different then, but now we have a team of people. So I'll still have team meetings whilst I do those kind of trips, or I'll still do maybe emails and social media stuff and things like that. There'll be certain tasks that I still do, but I might not take client calls, for example. There's those kind of trips that I tend to do sometimes when I'm going away, and then I have the kind of holiday. And I think if I'm having a holiday, it does take planning. You know, even now, like before, it used to take months and months and months of planning in order to go and do it. I'd find that I was pulling my hair out, stressed to the hilt, trying to get everything done. Think I need to get all this done just to go away for it all. It's not as bad as what it used to be. Like I actually realise now, you know, we're not selling kidneys to people. It's not the end of the world if something's not quite right or not quite done before I go away. But there's definitely some pressure and stress that comes in before. And I mean, how did you find those few months leading up to it before you went away on your first one?
Hey, it's going to pause it there for literally 2 seconds. If you're loving this week's episode, please let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. The more people we can get subscribing, the bigger guests we can get, and the more people we can help with the content being shared. Anyway, let's dive back into today's episode.
I think because it was just it was small group PT, and I had about 40, 50 clients at the time. I really knew everybody inside out. So the communication with them that I was going away was quite straightforward. But then saying that, all the other holidays that followed from that too. So we went to Italy for a couple of days. We went to Budapest for a couple of days. We started going on more holidays, but again, they weren't actual proper holidays. They would still be called working holidays, or maybe the phrase of, I'm too scared to have a proper holiday, I will still work while on holiday, was the case. And I remember the first proper holiday was only about 4 years ago, and I went to Florida. I was there for 2 weeks, and my mentor at the time just said, Dave, just don't do anything. And that's the hard part then, because it's like, I need to switch off. I really not supposed to do work yet. A message comes through. That message doesn't belong to you. Yeah, you're just like, oh, let me, and you're just like, no, I have to do it. So now we just tell the team, like, I'm completely unavailable now. But then, like you say, back when it was just me doing everything, it was really all about planning and letting them know. So, because some clients do get upset. They feel like you should give them all the attention. And we talked about this the other week. Remember when we were talking about, like, if clients text you at 8:30 at night, you need to set the rules to say you're not available, or you're only available between set hours. So it is just feeling like you deserve a holiday. You've worked hard to achieve this holiday, and to let the clients know that I am not available.
Mm-hmm. It's a big thing. I mean, we literally talked about just before we even jumped on this, when people do message you. And I think if you're readily available, which is very easy to be readily available these days, the likes of social media, most of our clients are probably friends, or most of them, I would say, are probably friends with us on social media or interact with us on social media one way or another, which means in theory they can still contact us. And I think especially with the likes of Facebook, for example, where a lot of time it's our personal accounts on there. People are still friends with us on our personal accounts, and they can still send you messages. And it's very difficult, I think, if you go on a holiday, if I have social media on my phone when I go on a proper holiday, it's very hard for me to actually get away from it all, because I can still get messages through. As much as I can say, yeah, that message doesn't belong to me, it's not my problem, but I don't know whether they've actually followed the proper procedures, the proper things I've asked them to do in order to get help. So that message could sit there for however long, and I kind of sometimes feel pressured to go and deal with it. And the thing that helped me do that was actually not even doing it. Like, I will leave my phone away, I'll lock it away. So if I'm actually away on holiday, I'll do not disturb on, I won't go on social media or anything like that. I have my actual phone on, and there's only a handful of people who can get past my do not disturb on my phone just so they can do it. And that way it's like family, a few friends, a few people in the business, like yourself, for example, on there, Jed, and people like that are on there. But like, yeah, for the most part, I have to be completely distracted from it all. And that really helped me the first few times I did that, where these days I can deal with it now. But in the early days, I had to find things to help me make sure I could switch off fully if I wanted to go on a proper holiday.
No, something like this time now when we landed, we like the first day we'll just have a relaxed day, nothing's going on or anything. And then the second day, yesterday, we sat and decided when we're going to do the excursion. So tomorrow we're going on quad bikes and a barbecue on the boat or something, full day Saturday, but it's the weekend anyway, so it's okay. But Monday we're going to see Marmaris Castle and walk around the old town and go through everything. So again, I've completely blocked out Monday. So when you arrive, decide there and then let your clients know, let your staff know this is the whole process while I'm away. But yeah, it's never an easy one.
No.
Especially when you're the face of the business. When you're the face, everybody wants to go through you as it's your business, which always does make it a bit hard.
Yeah, it definitely makes it tricky. It'd be interesting to talk a little about the other side of this. We've talked to the concept of taking holidays and breaks away from what you do in person, gyms and studios. There's the other side of this, which we see a lot, and it gets promoted a lot when we talk about online personal training. If you start doing the online side of this, a lot of people leave with the idea that online is a great way to go because you can sit there on the beach with your laptop on, drinking your pina coladas or whatever you want to drink, coaching your clients on your laptop, and away you go, and everything's all well and easy. I've had my experience of this. What's your experience of actually trying to work on a beach? I would say.
You know, everybody that's listened to this now that has a successful online fitness business will know instantly straight away what we're going to talk about. They're going to know that it's not exactly as it seems. So like if someone's saying, yeah, you can work from the beach on your laptop, it's never going to happen. No matter how many sunglasses you're going to put on, you still can't see your screen because it's just so bright. The brightness then reduces the battery life because the sun's beating down on the battery on your laptop, which means you need to plug in. And obviously there's nowhere to plug in because you're stuck on a beach. Yeah.
Feels like your hands take off.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. And then obviously I'm sat at a nice chair or the desk here in the kind of bar area, so it's really nice and comfortable to be able to work. But sat on a deck chair all day, kind of like typing with a hunchback, it's just not what people make it out to be.
It's definitely not. I mean, I think I've tried it a couple of times before. 20 minutes, I'll last, and then normally these days I would probably find somewhere to go and do it, like over in a bar, like yourself there. It depends on the work I'm doing. If I was just doing work on a laptop and I was doing a bit of tweaking for coaching clients' accounts, I'll probably be somewhere like yours, that bar, restaurant, that kind of thing. There's the other side of it as well. Like even now, you can't really hear too much what's going on behind you, but there's the odd little things. And I think that's something you think about. Like you're not in control of your environment when you go away. So if you are going to do coaching calls, if things like Wi-Fi doesn't work or something like that, you don't have any control over that. So you have to accept the fact there's going to be times when you don't do it. And one of the things that happens to me, like I like cruising. There's anyone that follows know that I really like cruising. And 90% of the time it all goes well. But with that, there's still deadlines, there's still things that are going on. Wi-Fi can sometimes not work. It's satellite-based Wi-Fi. When it's working, it's great. Sometimes it doesn't. And these little problems come up, and the things that where, if you're working at home in the office, you have a level of control over that, where you lose some of those levels of control when you're traveling. So it's important that you do have, at least for me anyway, I found I need to have systems and backups and things in place in order to deal with that kind of thing, if that was going to be the case. And in all honesty, these days, if I'm doing a working holiday, if I'm working, a lot of time I sit in the room. I'd rather, instead of having like being out in a bar or a restaurant where there's distractions and things going on, I could be there 3-4 hours doing a bit of work because of it. But if I actually go and sit in a room or maybe an IT center or something like that, yeah, it's boring, it's not fancy or anything, but I can get it done in 2 hours and I can spend the rest of my day doing what I actually enjoy doing, spending time with my wife, Sarah, and so on. So, like, to me, when I'm doing working holidays now, I won't even entertain the idea. Maybe for a quick Instagram photo or something like that, I might do the shop. Other than that, I spend most of my time in the IT centre or the room working for a couple of hours.
No, that's definitely it. So, like, I've been sat here most of the time and doing calls that I know I can kind of get away with sat here, because it's like, oh, where are you? Or I've seen your post, or it's looking nice and blah blah blah. But if I'm on a real important sales call, or if me and Ash actually took this podcast quite seriously, I would actually be in the hotel room with a nice background, so it looks proper, it looks serious. But then again, you do these things and people get to see a different side of you, which again is an important part for people to build your know, like, and trust with them.
Most definitely, yeah. You've got to get that balance right between the two. I think with this, like, you have to decide. Again, we talked about it's a bit about planning. You have to understand who you're going to speak to, what you're going to get done. And again, I love my diary for that. If I'm traveling anywhere and I'm doing like a working holiday, my diary's still planned out. Like, I'll make sure that my team know when I'm available, when I'm not. I make sure that I know what things will get done and when. I also mark off what things are more flexible. So certain things I know have to be done at certain times, but I also know there's certain things that can be flexible within my diary. And I'll make sure that if they are, I identify that. So there's less thinking for me to do, so I can be a bit more flexible in the things that I do with that. Is since you're away now at the moment, are there any kind of tips or anything that you would recommend to anyone that's thinking, anyone that's sat here thinking, I want to go on holiday? Maybe they've got their own gym or studio, or their personal training. One of the things we've talked about before this, where when you're starting out, generally speaking, if you're not working, you're not earning. Generally speaking, so if you go away on holiday, it means you're not earning. So there's probably a lot of people sat there thinking, well, it'd be nice to maybe go away, work a bit whilst I'm away, so I can start making a bit of an income whilst I'm away as well, and doing those steps. Do you have any kind of tips or any top advice you give anybody, like your top 3 bits of advice?
Hey, just going to pause it there really quickly. If you know any guests that would love to feature, or if you yourself would like to feature on one of these episodes, do let us know by reaching out or letting us know in the comments. Anyway, let's get back into the episode.
You give anybody who's thinking of doing that?
Your diary. That's going to be the first thing straight away. The minute you land, well, it's not even a minute to land. So what we did for this exact holiday is I booked the whole holiday out as being unavailable. I'm just not available for the whole entire period until we'd set up camp, basically, until we'd landed, we'd planned what we were going to do for the rest of the holiday, and then we go from there. Because, like you say, while you're on these holidays, you can't really control what is going on. So, like, we could book a boat trip and then it gets cancelled, and you're just like, oh, that day's ruined then. So you've got to move it. So it's always best to book everything out. Once you landed, then you set a base, you know what's what, then start programming everything in. The big one then comes down to sales calls, because again, like we were just saying, then you need to still be earning while we're away. So making sure that you've planned your sales calls accordingly. Don't risk by putting an important sales call at a time where you think, oh, I might be back in time. If the taxi can get me back to the hotel, I should be able to get to the room and do it in time. Like, if you think that there's no chance of if you're not 1,000% sure you're going to be there, book that time for a different one. Because again, you're just going to lose clients, you're just going to lose money over it. And then the last one is just set expectations to your clients and to your team. Let them know you're away. I'm not going to be available as much. These are the times I am going to be available. This is how to contact me, or this is the best way to contact me. This is how I'm going to be working while I'm away. So these are the type of things to do. And then if you're like me and Ash, you still have double screens going on. You've got your keyboard and mouse all ready to go. Yeah, everything's all still tech heavy, but you can get away with just a laptop.
Yeah, you could definitely go just a laptop. I mean, I'm terrible for doing that sometimes. I'll take over an entire table for like 4 people, screens and laptops and everything else everywhere. And always normally have Sarah, for anyone with this, Sarah's my wife Sarah, she'll be with us, and sometimes I'll be on headphones in. I'm quite loud, as Dave's recognised before when we've been out in public places, and then I'm talking quite loud. She's terrible for it. She shakes her head and walks away. I'm just taking over this entire room somewhere. Watch me inside it all. Okay, cool, guys. I mean, if anyone's got any questions about what we're talking about here, feel free to drop it in. The whole point of these events, these lives, these podcast is about being social. It's the Fitpro Social after all. So if anyone's got any experience of traveling and working together, do let us know in the comments and just tell us your experience as well. Likewise, with these, if you want to come and join us on any of these, you're more than welcome to. You don't have to talk about anything particular. If you want to come on, share your thoughts and ideas or something you're working on, it is literally about meeting people and being social in the fitness industry. So if you want to come and join us on this podcast, just come to a chat about your experience, whether that's a studio you run, work in the gym, you're new to personal training, maybe you've been in it for 50 years and you're a veteran, maybe you're just about doing online stuff, whatever it is, you want to come on and chat to me and Dave and just share your thoughts and experience about your life and your experience in the industry, then feel free just to reach out, get in touch. You can find us on any of our social media platforms, and we'll get you on. Come have a chat with us all.
Yeah, definitely. Like Ash was saying, just reach out again. We want to be able to have these conversations, because these are sometimes conversations that go unmissed or people are too scared to talk about them. As you've kind of guessed, me and Ash just don't really care. We will happily talk about these conversations, do them in the most random places as well, just to let everybody know that these things are possible, or maybe those things are bad ideas. So if you are interested, just reach out and we can go from there. But yeah, I think I will leave you lost in rainy UK, or is it still sunny over there?
It's all right today, actually. It's not too bad. A bit of cloud. It's clearing up. It's supposed to be about 30 degrees tomorrow in some place in the UK. Just one day. Sunday is going to be like hammering it down with rain and storms. But, we get our one day.
No.
Our one day.
Okay, then, guys. So if anybody's got any topics that you want to talk about over the next couple of weeks, do reach out as well. Or like you said, if you want to come on, do let us know and we can get you on. But yeah, appreciate your time today or whenever you're listening. And we'll speak to you all next week.
Sure.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Fitpro Social. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes.